Indisputable proof of voter fraud has now finally emerged. Ilhan Omar is now under investigation by the Minneapolis police for allegedly ordering groups of people to pay voters for their ballots and to influence the election. The Democrats, of course, say there is no voter fraud. They maintain that for most of the year, despite mounting problems with mail-in ballots. It's all fake, they say. They demand that you ignore what your very eyes are showing you. Bags of votes for Trump found discarded in ditches, story after story of misdirected ballots, half of New York being delivered military ballots, mini Mike Bloomberg bribing felons to vote in Florida, and now people associated with a Democratic representative paying people for votes. Don't believe your eyes. Then they're asking you to believe that Joe Biden is a good candidate. And that's a hell of a leap of faith. We're going to be analysing the great Democrat voter fraud in this video. This is Political. My name's Connor Allen, and I'm here with Ryan Smith.
Hello, everyone.
But before we do get into that, please do subscribe if you're enjoying this content. Please do share the video if you find it enjoyable. And leave a like down below if you want to help us spread our content through the great YouTubes. So we have here an article from Fox News, great media source, very unbiased. It's an open secret, he reportedly said. She will do anything she can do to get elected, and she has hundreds of people on the streets doing that. The investigation reports to show a ballot harvester claiming that he received money to obtain ballots. It also highlights an alleged harvester who boasts about the number of ballots he's collected for a local official. TV also claims to have spoken with a former campaign worker who indicated that Omar's team paid voters for ballots. This is referencing Project Veritas. Iron, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think when you've got two sides here, you've got one side, Republicans, saying that the system is rife for fraud and all of these mail-in ballots facilitate fraud in particular. And you have the Democrats obviously saying, no, there's no chance that this could happen. It's no surprise that it's the Democrats that are the ones that are caught here doing this.
Just trying to hand wave it away, aren't they? We're seeing time after time evidence mounting of these great voter fraud cases. And they're just, every time they say, no, it's fake, it's a deep fake, or it's this, that, and the other, they just shrug their shoulders. They don't care about American democracy. And, and this manifests itself, by the way, in the response, because they didn't even bother to address the response. They replied with a mocking Trump for his tax returns. That's the response.
They don't deal with scrutiny. They don't handle scrutiny, and you see it up and down all across every level of the Democratic Party, whether it's Joe Biden or it's representatives who are rerunning for election. In the case of Ilhan Omar here, all they do is whenever they face scrutiny, is they just try and reflect it back towards Trump and say, "Oh, well, what about Trump's doing this and what about Trump's doing that?" No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, journalists will, as we know, be very, very critical of Trump and scrutinize him on everything he does. But when you're facing criticism for something that you've done, you can't just reflect it towards your opponent all the time. You have to, give yourself, you have to make a defense and say, well, oh, here's what's happening. This is this and this, this and this. All this looks like, from the perspective of the general public, is they're not going to say, they're definitely innocent then, because they're reflecting it. They're going to be even more suspicious, because if they're innocent, then why not, make a case for yourself, make a defense for yourself?
So if I had nothing to hide and then someone accused me of messing with voter ballots or whatever, I'd laugh. I'd say, fine, investigate me. I'll cooperate with everyone. Please do investigate me, is what I would say. They don't even acknowledge that the accusation has been made. And isn't this just a hallmark of Joe Biden's campaign? Just this refusal to face any kind of criticism, any kind of scrutiny. He just hides in the shadows for all of it. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and, talking about the actual crime here, we're talking about ballot harvesting. I think this goes beyond voter fraud, as far as I'm concerned, because what they're doing is they're going round to people's houses and intimidating them effectively, intimidating them to vote. We saw in the videos, and you can go and see these videos on, if you look at James O'Keefe's Twitter, he's got all of the videos and stuff posted on there, or Project Veritas. They're going around and they're openly saying, no, we didn't even have to offer them money. These people were just giving us their ballots anyway. Like, it's just immoral to go and intimidate probably like elderly people as well a lot of the time into giving ballots and things like this. Not only are you intimidating, you're stealing their vote from them as well. It honestly is absolutely disgusting. And the thing is, Ilhan Omar is in a pretty safe Democratic seat. They don't need to do this, right? They should basically be winning anyway. They should feel pretty confident anyway. So it's a kind of arrogance and contempt for the system, I think. They feel like, well, we can get away with anything, so let's do it.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say that when you were talking about the intimidation tactics they use, because it all feeds into Black Lives Matter, doesn't it? Because when you have violent protesters looting, rioting, turning cities into literal hellholes, uninhabitable hellholes, and then you get the knock on the door one day and you have two big muscular gentlemen. You can see in the video they're very muscular, right?
Yeah.
And they're demanding to know your voting intentions. They're demanding to know what you're doing with your voting ballot. Of course, if you're a little old lady, you're going to feel some sort of pressure.
Yeah, certainly. And I tell you what, as well, I think this really should now open the door to have that conversation about fraud with mail-in ballots, not just in Minnesota here, but in other states as well. Because Minnesota isn't even one of the states that is sending out universal mail-in ballots. So these ballots that they're getting, they're absentee ballots. So imagine this happening, but in a state that has sent out universal mail-in ballots. Almost everyone will have a ballot. They can go and knock on a door, safe in the knowledge that there's like a 90% chance that person has already received some kind of universal ballot. Now imagine this widespread, multiple people, grassroots, going around knocking door to door, intimidating people into giving them ballots and harvesting them. This person, they're boasting about it. They're posting, videos and all sorts, being very open about what they're doing. So if they're this arrogant here, then what's to say that they're not going to be, have that same mentality in other grassroots kind of campaigns in other states?
Absolutely. And you're already seeing it manifest itself, aren't you? Because you're seeing the bag of Trump votes found discarded in a ditch in Pennsylvania. It's absolute insanity that you have one Democratic Party in a two-party system it seems to be actively trying to influence the vote by dodgy means. Look at Mike Bloomberg in Florida. He's paying felons to go and vote for the Democrats. As you say, it's arrogance, nothing more than arrogance. And really, if you can't beat Donald Trump by legitimate means, it just shocks me that a man who could be 50 years in Congress, or 180, did he say the other day, that he could be okay with this.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'm really concerned about the possibility that it comes to election day, and we've seen multiple videos like this, multiple reports of some kind of voter fraud going on, and that no one is basically going to care, that it's just going to be allowed, and whether or not Trump wins or not. Let's just say in a scenario he doesn't win, but we see in a lot of these swing states a lot of fraud going on. Well, if he kicks up a fuss about it and say, well, hold on, we've seen all of this evidence, why, and now you're expecting me to basically concede the election. I just think it creates this really, really dangerous situation where either side doesn't want to concede the election, and all of these reports of voter fraud aren't being investigated. What the Democrats need to do is they need to be absolutely cooperative. They don't need to reflect. They shouldn't be reflecting like this in the way that they're doing. They need to be absolutely cooperative and say, we really don't want to see voter fraud either. Rather than just denying its existence, when evidence comes up that it does exist, they need to be, no, you're right. We need to look into this. Because if they want that, if they care about America and they want that peaceful transition of power, then both sides really need to be, there needs to be a bipartisan effort to eradicate all of this fraud so that come election day, every voter feels, kind of safe in that knowledge that, this was a fair election and the winner was the person who got the most electoral college votes.
Absolutely right. Peaceful transitions of power are earned. They're not taken automatically. They're earned by good conduct of the opposition. Okay. If you want to have a peaceful transition of power, you need to have acted in a way where your opponent could say, yeah, fair enough, I lost. The Democrats aren't doing that. And, as you said before with this intimidation, what I think you'll see on voter day, you'll see a lot of Republican voters. And, there is a segment of Republican voters who quite like the Second Amendment. They will walk through rain, Black Lives Matter, Molotov cocktails. They will walk through anything to vote, okay? And they will defend themselves when they do it. What I think you will see happening, you'll see a few cases of violence on the election day, but the left, what they'll do is they'll point it back and blame the Republicans and Donald Trump for it. It's a huge deflection game. And I think on that note, I'm just about ready to wrap up. Are you?
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll see you for our exclusive debate coverage later on tonight. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and take care of yourselves.